I'm Krista Case, and we have a special segment for you right now. This is part of our Unleash AI Momentum series that we're doing with HPE. And over this conversation, we're going to talk about the fact that organizations are beginning to move AI into production. But many companies lack confidence in the data that's actually fueling their AI initiatives. They lack visibility into things like what data is being used, where it resides, how it's protected, and whether or not they can trust it. And this is really a problem because AI begins with the foundation of trusted data, which really requires, again, that visibility, governance, protection, and really these various infrastructure components working together. And so I'm joined here today actually by three guests. I'm joined by Robin Braun, who's VP of AI Business Development with HPE. Robin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Ian Williamson, SVP of Alliances with Big ID.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Ian. And Patrick Conti, Chief Revenue Officer with Fortanix.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, Patrick. In my conversations is that enterprise leaders are struggling with not so much building AI models, but building the confidence in the data that's fueling them. Can you talk about why trusted data has become such a foundational issue these days as we're trying to scale these AI initiatives? So Patrick, I know kind of the discovery piece is only the first step. We also need to make sure that this information is protected, especially as businesses start to use, these AI applications and the data that's fueling them. So can you talk about how we start to kind of build that trust and protection in?
Sure. Yeah, and we've been partnered with Big ID for quite a while now, and we don't do data discovery. We don't do the classification stuff. We don't do all the intelligence that they do. So it's actually a really great partnership for them to be able to discover and classify the data properly, and then for us to be able to take that and protect it. And we actually, this whole concept of data protection feeds into this AI governance challenge. The data needs to be protected at rest, and really the only proven way to do that is to encrypt it. So we have methods to do that. But to do anything with it, you have to move it. You have to move it into, for example, GPU encrypted memory so that you can actually do something with it and protect it while it's in use. So we actually have a solution that, and we're working with Robin and the team at HPE to deliver a straight through solution that sits on top of HPE infrastructure where we can encrypt the data at rest, encrypt the data in motion. The data in motion stays inside an encrypted tunnel until it gets to the CPU and actually goes into the memory of the CPU. That memory is actually encrypted. Then we decrypt it inside that memory, and it can run inside that memory, and your entire solution, data end to end, is fully protected.
Yeah, like you say, from data at rest all the way through data in use, and that's
Correct.
Especially critical in these hybrid environments that we've been talking about, I'm sure as well, because the data is moving to where it needs to be processed for the AI application. So we were also talking a moment ago about kind of AI governance, and I'd be curious to get all three of your perspectives on sort of, I guess, step one being kind of why this matters, but also, how do you find customers start to strike the balance between adopting AI, but also making sure that they have enough of these protection and kind of guardrail technologies in place, without slowing down that innovation? So Patrick, I'd love to get your thoughts.
For sure they do not know where all their data is. And another thing they don't know where everything is are their encryption keys. So discovery has to be done really on both the cryptographic asset side as well as the data side. And those are all things that sort of feed into the ability to deliver governance. What we've seen as we've talked to customers is really two different kinds of approaches. One is a number of very large companies, sort of the largest banks in the world and others, have formed centers of excellence. And what they've really done in many cases is take the approach that they're going to build their own guardrails. They're going to take a bunch of off-the-shelf products, they're going to roll them together and try to create something that will work for them. The challenge that those guys have is that's not protecting the data in use. That's actually protecting access, and it's mirroring different pieces of the front part of the process together. So I actually had this conversation with the CISO from a very, very large global bank, and we were talking about using confidential computing, which is our foundational technology, protecting data in use, right? Basically using encrypted memory. And we asked him about this, and as it related to AI, and he said, yeah, if I need that, I'm just going to ask my cloud guys to just turn it on. I can just turn it on if I want to turn it on. He did not understand that actually doesn't do anything. You have to have other things to provide the governance and to provide you have to provide workflows. You have to actually be able to connect to all of the hardware that's involved in any kind of an AI job, the CPUs, the GPUs, the job itself. You have to put agents on all these so that you can collect measurements and make sure that all those pieces of hardware, the CPUs, GPUs, all the compute is as it was when it came from the factory, that hasn't been tampered in the supply chain. Yeah. You also have to put an agent on the workload and the model, and what this does is make sure that you don't have any tampering from the time when those were registered to be used in the job until you go to runtime. And we call this composite attestation, and that's what actually allows jobs to run. And that's where we see the governance piece going is, you have the guardrails piece, but what happens after you get past the guardrails? You still have insider threat, you still have data leakage that can occur.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you need that foundational trust in the infrastructure, beyond making sure from a software perspective that we have the governance in place for the AI agents or the AI application itself.
Absolutely.
So Patrick, you were talking a little bit about kind of, integration, and it's a great segue because I know part of this Unleash AI program that's being led by HPE is to, support customers with the integration piece of it. And I know, again, Patrick, you were just giving some commentary, so maybe I'll start this question with you, see if you have anything else, and then we'll maybe go to Robin and Ian. But what difference does this kind of partnership and integration make when customers actually look to move their AI into production? Again, maybe any additional commentary.
Yeah, what Unleash AI does is give you the components of the stack that has to be delivered on top of the infrastructure. So HPE is delivering the infrastructure, they're delivering a lot of tools, models, a lot of things that can be used by those customers, and things need to be stacked on top of it. There needs to be orchestration, right? And so they partner with orchestration vendors that we've also partnered with. They partnered with model vendors, model builders, frontier model builders. We also have partnered with those guys. And so all parts of the stack and the security layer includes more than just confidential computing. It typically includes other parts of the zero trust spectrum, right? Endpoint or whatever, so the CrowdStrikes of the world and others are part of the program. Those are also partners. And so what has to happen is you have to have integration up and down that stack to deliver to a customer a trusted solution. And I think that's what Robin and her team are doing, is building building a collection of capabilities that work together to create the stack or the stacks as customers need to deploy them. Did I get that right, Robin?
You did, you did.
So we like to make things very actionable for our audience. So as we kind of start to close the segment, I'd like to pose a question to all three of you, which is, if you were talking with a practitioner and they're feeling overwhelmed about kind of where to start with establishing kind of this AI governance, what might be your top recommendation for them to start with?
Don't be afraid to pilot on premises. Don't be afraid to use the infrastructure that's here and that's modern, that's being built out of NVIDIA GPUs and being built out of CPUs by the leading CPU vendors and being put together by HPE. I would tell them that that they don't need to go through the huge amount of work to try to build their own guardrails. That guardrail and guardrail technology is actually in the toolkits that, for example, the private cloud AI, the toolkit that's part of that stack has the ability to build guardrails there. You don't have to go and get 4 or 5 startup companies stitch their stuff together in something that can't even be supported because it's not standard. So that would be my recommendation. I think a lot of companies, government agencies, and others are looking at, how do I get started? Buy an array. You want to get a model, and you want to get started because you don't want to be left behind, and you're going to need to use this technology. It's absolutely there. We're seeing a lot of rehoming coming back on premises because customers want the model to be close to the data, and a lot of times that data can't go anyplace else. If it's banks, if it's let's say security agencies or whatever the case may be, or healthcare. So that would be my recommendation: is get started, do the pilot,
take the first step, right?
Yep.
I think that's a great comment to leave on. So Robin, Ian, Patrick, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.